I think one of the neatest sort of aspects to the fossil site is the fact that it's a very different picture than we thought was, or at least showing us something that's different than what we thought was going on during the late Miocene. We had this idea of the grasslands spreading across North America, and that lots of animals were going extinct because of this. And what we have here is a forested ecosystem that seems to sort of capture what it was like prior to that, and perhaps even represent what we would call refugium, a place where animals could have lived a little longer, hung on a little later in time. And so it's really sort of changing our understanding of that period. Yeah, actually, the site itself is continuing to produce more of those animals. When we first discovered them, we just had some tooth fragments, some dental fragments, and so we were sort of concerned that, well, maybe this is a one-shot wonder or something rare. But since then, we've produced multiple skulls of these animals, including a nearly complete skeleton of our red panda. And so it's allowed us to really look at the animal and see, how is it different, how is it the same as a living red panda. And it really is pretty different. It's quite a bit larger, it has different body proportions, so it was doing something different. So, I mean, from the perspective of those two animals, we've learned even more about them. But we've also, of course, added to the list. We've found several new Chinese plants at the site, and we continue to sort of grow our list of animals.
Sure.
Well, one of the things that I think, just to sort of step back, if you really look at fossil sites in general, whether you're talking about the state, whether you're talking about the federal government, wherever, they really belong to everyone. This is something that's sort of part of our heritage, and so it really needs to be protected for future generations, because you really can't anticipate for sure what you're going to learn, or if you know everything. There's this misconception that, well, we've been digging sites for years, you already know everything. Well, Gray is a perfect example of why you don't know everything. You are still surprised. We do still find unique things, and they help us understand how the environment has changed, over millions of years. Well, that's important today when you look at how the environment is changing now. We need to know how species, plants, and animals are going to react to these changes. And so, to me, I always feel like there's really, as you put it earlier, it's a no-brainer to protect these things. It's information. Why would you ever want to not protect information? So, to me, it's not even a discussion point. In terms of the funding, the bulk of our funding has actually come from the federal government. Even though the grant that built this museum, that allowed us to dig for multiple years out at the fossil site, was administered by the state, it was a federal grant. It was a federal flow-through grant. So, I mean, it was federal dollars. And even now, I have a 3-year grant with the National Science Foundation to dig out the fossil site. And again, it's a federal grant. So it's mostly federal money that's doing this. What's really neat about those two animals is that in the past we've recognized that there are a lot of sort of Asian components to our flora, to our plants, but we hadn't noticed so many unique or similar situations with mammals. And so to find a red panda and a Eurasian badger here in eastern North America was really significant, because it was the first sort of mammalian example of this, of having this Asian component in North America.